What do you want to do?
I don't know. We don't have an intro. All right. Welcome to episode 11 of the Glaziar Gamble podcast. I, as you can see here, am Mychal Glaziar.
And I am Joe Gamble.
And today we will be talking to you, as we always do, about sports. We have football, NFL, right around the corner. And then right now, upcoming college football has started. We're from Minnesota, and the Gophers started 11 minutes ago. And they play Ohio State, which got Quinn Ewers, who we've talked about, but he is not starting for them. It is CJ Stroud, I believe. We're going to start off today with some NBA talk because there's some trades and signings that have happened. Quick little thing. Isaiah Thomas is trying to make a comeback into the NBA. I think that's pretty cool. I like him. I just think it's kind of hard. If people are mad that he can't play defense, but Steph doesn't play defense, Dame doesn't play defense, so I'm cool if he makes it back into the league.
I think he can obviously, he's kind of like a little spark plug off the bench.
Right.
You know, he could come out on any night and probably drop 20. But you're right, he is a liability on defense. And I don't know, I kind of don't like the way that Boston did him.
Well,
they did him a little
think
dirty.
Anybody should be happy with what they did to him. Like, Boston fans are mad about it. So
right.
Anyway, just wanted to throw that in to start out. One big thing that happened was a trade that allowed Lauri Markkanen to leave the Bulls. The details of the trade, I won't go into too much specifics, but he signed a 4-year, $67 million deal with the Cavs. The Larry Nance Jr. of the Cavaliers ended up on the Trailblazers, and right. Derrick Jones Jr. and first went to Chicago.
Yep, Portland first.
So Derrick Jones Jr. is probably the smallest piece there, which is why you had to toss in a first. And I think Larry Nance Jr. is actually going to a place where he's going to fit in really well. So I think he'll do good. Really like that.
I think he'll do good there.
If they keep Dame, they got better. So
yeah, Dame, CJ McCollum, Nurkic, Larry Nance will slide in at the power forward spot, and then you could Rocco. They have Rocco, I think.
Yeah, Rocco was playing their power forward last year,
so Rocco can go to his more natural position.
Right, he should be a 2-3, not a 3-4.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think that's they got a good starting lineup. They got to figure out what they got to do with their bench, though.
Yeah. So other basketball news: we're Timberwolves fans.
We are.
And Anthony Edwards apparently has grown 2 inches this offseason.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they were talking about height, but I was really excited when I heard that information because we lost Gorgie, which we lost a lot of what I was talking about.
Right. I mean, yeah, you knew when he walked in the locker room, let me tell you.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure if that's what they meant because he apparently was his listed height when he was drafted was 6'5". And he said he's
6'4", though. So I mean 6'5" in shoes, maybe.
So they said he was 6'5". That's what he was listed at. And then he said he grew 2 inches, which would put him at 6'7".
Yeah.
But then he said, "Don't let me get to 6'6", which means he's not even 6'6" yet.
Yeah.
So if he grew 2 inches and he's not even 6'6" yet, that means he was really probably drafted at like 6'2".
Yeah. Well, I think he doesn't look small. Like he looks like 6'4". Yeah, 6'4", 6'5", which I think is what people thought he was.
Yeah.
And so like he's taller than Beasley by a mile. Beasley's 6'1". He's taller than D'Angelo. D'Angelo's probably 6'1" in shoes.
I think he's 6 foot in shoes. I bet D'Lo is probably 5'11" or 5'10".
Yeah. So the Anthony Edwards is apparently 6'4". He's listed at 6'5", but if he grew 2 inches, he's looking at 6'6".
Yeah.
And so he's already got the NBA body. Like he's going to be a tougher guard now. So he's going to be a tougher player to guard. And then he also said, don't let me get 6'6" or I'll be Michael Jordan. So
right, which classic Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards is gold. So
I think people should try to get him into interviews.
Yeah, he should definitely be there at an All-Star weekend. He'd be hilarious.
If we were a bigger show, I would definitely do my best to get him here.
Oh yeah, he'd be a fun interview.
Well, and I think it would be fun to just have some candid conversations with Wolves fans.
Yeah.
Or as Wolves fans, but
right. Yeah.
So anyway, just wanted to touch on that. Anthony Edwards got taller and he was already a decent size. So it'll be nice because him growing, which is the whole positive thing with getting guys when they're 19 and stuff, is like a lot of Anthony Davis grew 5 inches since he's been drafted and gained 100 pounds. Like he's huge now.
Yeah.
And not even fat. Like he's just
even big. Cat was like a baby from what he is now.
Yeah, he was a beanpole a little bit.
So,
but then you got guys like Willie Cauley-Stein, Brandon Ingram, who stay their same weight.
Yeah.
But
Wiggins even like Wiggins hasn't.
Yeah, he bulked up
too much. Yeah,
but he's basically been the same size since high school, which is partially why he was so dominant in high school. But yeah, so that was really exciting. I'm excited to see because as long as he continues growing, like he can move to the 3.
I saw he can a small ball 3 for sure. But I mean, if you want to keep Beasley in the starting lineup, if that's what you want to, no, it'd be Jaden.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it depends. Jaden can probably play a small ball 4. You could go D'Angelo, Beasley, Edwards, Jaden, Cat,
which is what I want our starting 5 to be.
Anyway,
right now, that's what I want. What I want our starting 5 to be was what you just listed.
Right.
I would also be fine with starting somebody like a Kogi and having Beasley come off the bench and.
Yeah, I mean, a Kogi, you're not going to get any points out of a Kogi, but
well, and that's the thing is like you already have Cat, D'Lo, Jaden, Ant that all are going to want some points.
Yeah, so, Jaden's a defender too, so I mean, you have maybe a Kogi and Jaden can carry the defensive.
Exactly. So you have those guys as your starters to play some defense, and then you have Malik who's going to want a lot of his shots. Right. Have him coming off the bench so that it guarantees him his shots and he can stay happy. I'd much rather have that than Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think the only piece I'd be comfortable to get rid of for Ben Simmons would be Malik Beasley. And that's assuming Jalen Noel is ready to step up.
That's also, but you can also like if the Sixers want more, I wouldn't be comfortable giving up a first with Beasley.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, they were like, why wouldn't you? A lot of people are saying, why wouldn't you want to get rid of Jaden? Like, Jaden is potential right now, but you're getting a for sure thing with Simmons. And it's like,
attempted 53s.
Jaden's 20 years old. Like, he's been in the league 1 year.
Jaden attempted 53s as a rookie and had a better shooting percentage than Simmons.
Yeah, and Jaden was like watching Jaden. He was shy. Like he's just a rookie. He probably didn't expect to get thrown in the starting lineup ever. And then he was just there. And then he's like, all right, well, you're going to be there now.
I like him a lot. I like Jaden McDaniels a lot. Like I say, please don't get rid of him. If we're going to get rid of anybody for Simmons, it'd be Beasley.
Like Beasley, Okogie, Layman. I mean, just cap fillers at that point.
So yeah, like
cap fillers.
And that's the thing is you have to match cap and you have to get to a max contract. And Beasley's getting really good money. Like he's not getting paid a lot. Like the only that's why everybody projects us trading D'Lo is because he's the only one that you can trade for money wise.
Another thing that I saw was a lot of things says that if you want D'Angelo Russell to get traded for Ben Simmons, you're not a Timberwolves fan. So like that was their take, because if you think about it, us as Timberwolves fans or logical Timberwolves fans, you and I wouldn't want D'Angelo Russell to get traded for Ben Simmons because we know that Cat D'Lo relationship is important. Culture wise, it's important. He's our second best 3-point shooter. He's just our second best 3-point shooter. Right. So why would we want to get rid of him?
And we're not saying Simmons doesn't fit the team.
No, yeah. If you could get Simmons with maybe salary wise, Malik, Taurean Prince, those two right there should do it. Those two right there is like 28 mil.
Yeah, and he's 30 something.
Yeah, so that should do it right there. Okogie, Layman. If you can like any of those four, I'd be okay with. And then if you had a starting lineup of D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Simmons, and Cat, now we're talking. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
And but not at the expense of any of those other four.
No, otherwise, what's the point of getting Simmons? And it's like, we're not saying he wouldn't be a good fit. Like you just said, that starting five would be amazing, and I think that's a playoff team.
You have Pat Bev, Jalen Noel off the bench. You have Nas still, Bolmaro. So
you have a really good bench, and you have a big potential bench that needs to get better, and then you have really good starters. So I would be fine with Simmons for that, but I'm not giving up the players that they want because
I think any of those four players, and then if you can do it with any of those four players, you can throw in a first round pick. That's and we have 3 seconds. We have 3 seconds.
And so now, as the Sixers, would you rather have that package or CJ McCollum in a first? Because that's the big thing right now. Is apparently that's the best that they've been offered as of the past month. Is CJ McCollum in a first round pick?
Here's the thing. I don't think this just as a biased Timberwolves fans, I don't think Malik Beasley is that off of CJ McCollum.
I think in terms of overall scoring, he's better. McCollum is better.
Yeah, but I feel like age-wise,
Malik's younger. Malik is more athletic.
Has a better a cheaper contract.
But McCollum's a better leader.
McCollum can play the McCollum is a ball handler. Yep.
Yeah. So it depends on what you're looking for. With losing Simmons, I think McCollum is a better package for them.
Yeah.
But I don't want Simmons, so I'm fine with that. We can move on. That was a little tangent. Yeah. But some other news. Rondo
bought out by the Grizzlies.
Now he's joining the Lakers.
Shocker. Yeah.
He hated it on the Clippers because of their personalities. He didn't like Kawhi and PG because they got mad at him when he would yell at them. They didn't like being told what to do. That was straight from Rondo, by the way.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, he's that's why apparently he was benched in the last few games is because Kawhi wanted him benched.
Kawhi was injured. Kawhi wasn't even in there.
Doesn't matter. Kawhi yelled at him, or he yelled at Kawhi.
Soft. Players are soft.
That is when people say it's soft, how much softer does it get then? I don't want to be yelled at.
Yeah, I like to say we talked about Draymond last week. And it was you're professionals. You have a grown man yelling at another grown man. It's he's not mad at you. He's mad at, the fact that you're not doing what you can for the team. I guess that's, he's trying to win. So,
and then part of another person that was Kevin Love officially bought out?
Rumored to be bought out.
Okay, yeah. So he's potentially going to get bought out. If he does get bought out, people think he's going to the Lakers.
I don't see why he wouldn't go to the Lakers. That'd be a perfect fit for
the
them.
last time he was happy was on a winning team.
Yeah, you don't have to play Marc Gasol as much, which is a win for the Lakers.
Rumor is Gasol is on the out. Apparently they're trying to move him, even if they can get just a second in return. If the salary cap works, they're apparently looking to move him completely.
Yeah, so you don't have to play Marc Gasol as much, which is a win for them. And then you get shooting too. So
right, and Kevin Love now can function as a bench scoring big.
Yeah, and in certain situations start.
And Rondo knows how to facilitate. Rondo's probably coming off the bench, so Rondo can, if he plays the Caruso role, 21 minutes of just tossing the ball in the corner to Kevin Love.
Yep.
Actually, with the way Kevin Love plays, tossing the ball straight behind him while Kevin Love trails for a top of the key three.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. I don't think we need too much more basketball news anyway. That's it. I think Russ Westbrook on the Lakers. I think we talked about that. People are saying that it's not going to be good, mainly the Skip Baylesses of the world. But I think he knows that at this point in his career,
he's still he's still going to do all the things Russell Westbrook does.
Right.
And I think, the one thing is, I don't think LeBron is technically as quick as he used to be. Okay. So I don't think LeBron's as quick as he once used to be. So LeBron's old days of driving and then kicking it out, I don't think he can do that much. He's maybe a mid-range post-up guy, ISO, and then a spot-up shooter. And so I think Westbrook can, be that guy that drives the lane and kicks it out to LeBron or AD or whatever. So, I mean, I think it's Russell Westbrook. He's an upgrade somewhere.
Right. No team should be upset about getting Russ.
Yeah.
But we do have a quick piece of baseball news being Minnesota fans.
Yeah. So let me just go down here.
Joe Ryan.
Yeah. So he was acquired. He was drafted by the Rays in 2018. He was included in the Nelson Cruz trade when we traded him there. And he did all right last night. It was 5 innings, 5 strikeouts. But he did pretty good for his MLB debut.
He was destroying it in the minors.
Yeah, he had he had 9 innings with 17 strikeouts or something like that.
Yeah, so he was meant to be in major leagues. Now he just has to get his feet under him here.
Yeah. So it would have been really nice to bring in another young prospect to put next to Barrios or something, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, because for some reason they had a fire sale and now are still not trying to tank.
Yeah, and you had Kenta
Maeda is out for the rest of the season.
He's a stud. Barrios is a stud, and now you potentially could have added Joe Ryan.
Kenta Maeda's surgery that he just got,
Tommy John's, I think,
is instead of being out for 12 months, 12 to 15 was the original timeline.
Yeah.
So that would have been all of the rest of the season and all of next season.
Yeah.
Now his projected recovery is 9 to 12.
Yeah.
So I mean, Kenta Maeda was doing well, but or as they say, the local sports radio here thinks he has a sexy name, Kenta Maeda. As Kenta Maeda was doing well, he's now gone for another year. So
yeah. So
and if Buxton
Joe Ryan Buxton made a nice diving catch last night.
I'm terrified every time he runs.
Yeah, he's still the best, defensive center fielder in the league. So
what does Mookie Betts play?
Yeah, center field maybe.
I'll take Mookie.
I'll take Byron Buxton if he's out there. He's amazing.
So
get it all?
Got NBA news in. We got baseball news in, and let's move on. NFL season is right around the corner. We'll talk some football. Football news. We're going to start with some fantasy football. We just did our draft. We always wait until the preseason's over because of injuries and final roster cuts. It's always I like the late ones. I know some people start in the first season, preseason. I'm always you don't know who's gonna. It's it's part of the strategy. It's I get it.
Yeah, last week we
talked to J.K. Dobbins and
yeah, someone in our league did.
Yeah, someone in our league took J.K. Dobbins the day it was announced before our draft started. He was up for the whole year. Yeah, and somebody still took him.
We talked last week about our ratings for wide receiver 1, 2, 3, quarterback 1, 2, 3, running back 1, 2, 3, stuff like that. And we mentioned if you're going to take wide receivers, we had to tie for third, Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
And we said in that if you get the respective quarterback, you should take their respective wide receiver. And it turns out that's exactly what I did.
And that's what I did, except I didn't get my quarterback's number 1 wide receiver. I got his number 2, but that's all right.
Yeah, took Dalvin Cook in the first round. If you're still doing your fantasy draft, basically first overall, you're going to take Dalvin Cook. You're going to take Christian McCaffrey. It's one of those two guys.
And it's if you're not a fan, or maybe you're from Florida and Tampa Bay, and you don't want to take but you don't want to take Panther number 1 and don't want to take a Saint, so you take out Kamara there, then Dalvin or Henry.
One of those 4 guys. Take one of those 4 guys.
That's what I think. I think if you're scared of injuries, stay away from Dalvin and Christian. If you're scared of sharing touches, or a reduction compared to last year, I'd be a little wary of Henry. But I think all 4 of them are going to have amazing seasons again. There's nothing that tells me Derrick Henry can't do what he's done in the past again. Alvin Kamara, if anything, has a larger workload this year. He's probably not going to have another 6 touchdown game.
Yeah. If you don't have those 4, take Tyreek Hill. number one wide receiver the last 2 years, pretty sure.
Devontae.
Or Devontae.
Aaron Rodgers and Devontae are both in contract years.
Aaron Rodgers fell a ton in our draft.
Yeah, but we're also in Minnesota.
Yeah. But I mean, but comparatively last year when you took him,
I took him
compared to
third
this
round,
year,
I think.
Compared to this year, he fell a lot. So
I think if you're going to take a wide receiver instead of a running back early, I would take Devontae first and then Tyreek personally.
Yeah. I mean, there's those two guys. And then
I always try to go for contract years.
Sure.
If they're in a contract year or if they're likely to be traded, I tend to take them because I think they're likely to ball out because they're trying harder.
Yeah.
And that's always worked. I feel like that's always worked for me. So that's just a little tip I have for people.
And then get your tight end early. There's
not many.
3.5. We could say 5.
If you miss out on the top 3, you can wait until round 14. It doesn't matter.
I got Mark Andrews, which is basically tight end 4. I've seen a lot of things have him tied with Kittle, kind of in that range.
I think that depends. And now with J.K. Dobbins being gone, I think that's fair. And with Bateman being out, Hollywood Brown potentially missing the first game.
Yeah. So I got Mark Andrews late after the big 3 tight ends went. So
and I got Gesicki really late,
which I, in my opinion, is tight end 5. So
yeah, and I got him. I think I got him in like round 10. For those wondering, like I got him late.
Yeah. And then Logan Thomas is up there too, which I also have.
Logan Thomas is somebody I tried to stay away from. I rated him high. I had him on my board high, but I tried to stay away from him because Ryan Fitzpatrick likes to use wide receivers more than tight ends, and then he likes wide running backs next. And then on top of that, Logan Thomas just got a contract, and I also tend to stay away from guys that just got contracts.
Sure.
Just because you never know which guy is going to do the
I pulled Lawrence. Your approach last year. Last year, you took basically all the tight ends from people, I think, or maybe that was the year before.
Last year, I took Kittle. Every year I tend to do tight end heavy. I like because we run a flex position. So if you get somebody, there was a couple of years where I had Jordan Reed, and I think there was one year where I had Kelsey and Jordan Reed. Yeah. And then there was another year where I had Jordan Reed again and like Ebron's good year on the Lions. You had Kittle and somebody. I had Kittle last year, but that was
Kittle and Kelsey. I swear I thought you had both.
I tend to do tight end heavy though.
Yeah.
Because a mixture of strategy of helping your team score, you always have a flex, and if you have a good flex outside of those tight ends, then you have a backup tight end for when your other one's on bye. Right. And because there's so few good tight ends, you hurt the rest of your league as a tight end that scores 2 points every week because you have the 2 tight ends that score touchdowns.
Right. So that's what I took. I took Mark Andrews and Logan Thomas
I think you could also let other people go after Kittle and Kelsey. And if you wanted in like rounds 2, 3 or 3, 4, you could try to slide in Waller, Andrews.
Yeah, Waller and Andrews. Yeah.
If you're able to slide Waller, Andrews, I think that
a lot of people have Waller above Kittle.
Exactly. So if you can get one of those guys plus a Mark Andrews, in my opinion, that's the sort of thing I would do.
Yeah.
This year I did a little different, and I drafted like 3 running backs as my first 3 picks.
Yeah.
So instead of taking tight ends from people, I tried to take running backs from people.
Yeah.
I took Nick Chubb, which I wasn't originally planning to, but then I ended up with the 8th pick, and the guys that I wanted most early on were gone.
Yeah, I think Chubb was right behind. Let's see. I there's the big 4, and then there's Saquon, Zeke. I think they're kind of in that next tier. And then
I don't trust either of those guys.
Yeah, so Saquon and Zeke are kind of in that next tier.
I think Zeke's a better pick than Saquon. I think Saquon has potential to boom more, but if you're somebody if you're weary of injuries, a running back who keeps getting leg injuries is terrifying.
Yeah.
So Saquon, I love Saquon. Penn State, I was like, okay, this is the next big running back, but he's never in, can't play.
Right.
And it's sad. It's sad, but he's really good.
Chubb's in there in that mix too.
My running back, I have Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, James Robinson.
And
then I have Ravondre Stevenson as my backup running back. So I have good running backs, but my receivers are weak. My quarterback's good. I mean, I got Derek Carr and Justin Herbert. Obviously, I'll start Herbert unless it looks poor, unless he looks bad. But I think Herbert's a solid with new O-line.
Right.
So, yeah. I wanted the Kyler D-Hop combo, but I think everybody else in our league was thinking similar because those guys all went super early.
Yeah, I got him 24 and 25. So that's when I drafted them. I got Kyler and D-Hop. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some people tend to wonder like matchup wise, like, oh, should I play this person or this person? There's a lot of people that got Kenny Golladay early this year. Kenny Golladay is somebody that is recommended. I recommend benching him for the first week. The Giants, with a lot of new weapons and trying to get Saquon back into the mix, I think they're going to start out off. I think they're trying to figure out who gets the catches. So they're not sure if Sterling Shepard's even going to get catches. They're not sure if they want to give Evan Ingram like back into the lineup. He's potentially out the whole season.
Yeah, you got Kenny Golladay. You got Darius Slayton or something Slayton.
And Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, and then you got Shepard, Ingram. Yeah, you don't know where the ball's going.
So I think Kenny Golladay is somebody that's a boomer bust potential week one. So I tend to stick away from those early on. He's somebody that a lot of people have questions on. There's a couple more people that people have questions on. People weren't sure if Julio Jones was going to do well to start out. He is practicing. People weren't sure if he was actually going to practice. He is practicing, and he goes up against Arizona. I think Arizona's defense, Arizona's games, I think anytime you go up against Arizona this year, I would play that team or play your player.
The running backs against that team might be rough with their D-line. Their D-line's pretty good.
I think their offense moves so fast that by the end of the game, second half, their defense is going to be exhausted anyway.
Right.
So I think it's shootouts no matter. Even with a good defense, they're going to have shootouts.
Sure.
Oh, Josh Jacobs versus Kenyon Drake. People weren't sure about. The Raiders today said yesterday in an interview with their owner. Not only did they talk about John Gruden potentially being on the hot seat, like we talked about last week.
We did do that.
We did.
We did talk about that.
But now all the other media shows are talking about it today. So we were a little early on that. But
we got our insiders. Our insiders are good. So
Al Davis, their owner was talking about how why would we went after Kenyon Drake as a split carry. We're not telling you that Josh Jacobs isn't going to be the starter anymore. Yeah. And so basically he came out with a statement saying Josh Jacobs' load will not be lightened. If anything, they're just going to be more run heavy and take the ball out of Carr's hands. If people who are scared of playing Josh Jacobs got a little bit more reassurance that he will actually be playing. Ferkser, bad news for the people that drafted him is he is potentially even going to be their second tight end on their roster. I was one of those people. I took the risk on him.
Yeah. You got Gesicki though, so you could afford to.
I took a risk.
That risk in tight end, and they did. Jonnu did so much last year. You had to try. You had to try to get that replacement. So,
and then the top unowned quarterbacks on Yahoo right now, on Yahoo Sports and CBS Sports. Jameis Winston is the number one quarterback they recommend picking up. I'd give that some time. You should, if you drafted a quarterback, and if you're not sure about your quarterback after the draft, you should be worried about your team in general.
I guess my advice for Jameis would be wait until week, say, if you hopefully you have a quarterback with a late bye week, that gives time for Michael Thomas to be back week 7, and then have Michael Thomas get acclimated to get back in action. Hopefully you give that a couple weeks, and then I'd maybe consider Jameis. That'd be the only bit.
Otherwise, if you're looking for a sleeper stash pick, one of the biggest ones I would say is Marcus Mariota. He's currently a backup. Multiple teams are inquiring with the Raiders on trading for him to be their starter. So one of those guys. Similar like a Zach Ertz, if you target those guys, I did that with James Robinson. It's similar. Like if you know their starter is potentially going to get traded, you draft their backup, knowing they'll eventually be a starter. Marcus Mariota, there's a good chance that he becomes a starter by the end of this year somewhere. And people don't trade for guys like quarterbacks to not heavily use them. So just a stash pick. If you're a 15th or 16th round, you want a backup quarterback and you're comfortable with your starter, I would slide in Mariota there.
Sure.
Just
I like Mariota.
Other football news, we have some Viking stuff. Harrison Smith signed an extension, 4-year, highest paid safety in the NFL.
I think second highest. I think I saw second highest.
I think highest. That must be highest guaranteed. It was one of
maybe,
the
highest. Yeah, I think it's highest guaranteed. It's highest guaranteed, but I think overall the APY is like second.
15.3 average and 26.4, 26.3 something, 26.38 million guaranteed. So congratulations. He's
most underrated Madden safety in the history of Madden
safety overall.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Good for Harry. He's well
means he's going to end his career in Minnesota too.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's huge. He's still got game. It's not like he's slowed down at all.
He can still play both safeties. He's still a leader on the defense.
Pretty healthy. He stays healthy.
And he has the highest conversion rate, or he used to at least. I don't know if he still does, but most likely safety to score a touchdown when getting an interception.
Yeah.
I think for a while he had like 60% of his interceptions ended up being nice. It was some insane number. So I'm really happy. I used to have 2 of his jerseys. I gave one to my dad. So I love Harrison Smith. He is to this day probably my favorite current Viking. I tend to like defensive players more.
Another big thing is when Harry and the Vikings were talking extensions, there was 2 names that were talking extensions for Minnesota, and we brought this up a couple weeks, but it was Harrison Smith and Brian O'Neill. So Brian O'Neill, fingers crossed.
You'll get one. They won't
get him.
If they can't re-sign Brian O'Neill, I have lost faith in Spielman. He's your best lineman that we have, so you got to
best lineman since probably rookie season Matt Khalil, which is a long time. It's been a long time since we had someone like that. So,
and considering we haven't had good linemen since John Sullivan, Steve Hutchinson, we haven't had good linemen basically since all the way back then. Riley Reef was above average.
Yeah, Joe Berger.
Right, those guys, but none of them. Our last stud lineman was Sullivan.
Yeah,
and so I think I keep the guys that are good. Brian O'Neill needs to get re-signed now. Another Viking that was in a contract year, but I don't know if they're going to re-sign him now. Irv Smith is out for the whole year. Back to fantasy football. My dad drafted him, and I texted him during the draft saying, I don't think you should have picked him because you don't know how he's going to do. And then after the draft was over, it was announced that Irv Smith's out for the year.
Yeah, there's if he is his contract year, they can put an injury designation because he hasn't played any games this year, and extend his contract 1 more year.
Yeah.
So the thing with Irv is they didn't know if it was a minor meniscus surgery, or a cleanup, he would be out 3 to 4 weeks or 4 to 5 weeks or something. But the surgery, full on surgery to clean everything up, is better for his career, longevity,
especially
of his career.
As a tight end.
Yeah, the longevity of his career, and it's about 5 months recovery. So which is probably going to be the whole year.
So he's out for the year. It's really too bad. I like Conklin a lot.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to become the tight end 1, but then they traded for Chris Herndon. They traded a 4th round pick for Herndon and a 6th.
Yep. I like Herndon. I think he was wasting away over in the Jets.
I think he thought so too. He did a celebration when he left. He did a thank you to the Jets, but I'm glad to be gone, basically.
Yeah. So I feel like the Jets are the new Raiders, but the Raiders are still the Raiders. So, but yeah, I like Chris Herndon. I always feel like drafting him, but then I'm like, all right, the Jets are horrible. So it's good tight end, bad situation.
Sure.
And I think he's going to slide right in as the tight end 2 until maybe he gets more acclimated. And, but I think Conklin's going to do great. I think Conklin is too. I think Conklin's going to be similar to what Kyle Rudolph does, but hopefully with more opportunities in the receiving game.
Some of these guys with NFL blood, have brothers and cousins in the NFL, Conklin, they're all so good. A lot of them are all the Matthews, and Conklin is just another one. It's cool. I hope he does really well, and I think he will. He was so good in the backup role.
Every opportunity to like make a name for himself right
Kirk's
here.
A fan.
So, yeah,
when your quarterback
it's like throwing into a mattress.
Well, that's what he said about Rudolph.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be good. I think Herndon's versatile too. Herndon can block, and I think if you can, our tight ends in our scheme have to be able to block first. They have to be able to run block first because it all revolves around Dalvin. So if they can block, they can set the edge. It's going to be more of a threat where they can just release, and then all of a sudden you got a tight end wide open. So
absolutely. So we sucked you into Vikings talk. You guys had to hear it, but that's actually the end of our football discussion.
Well, I got one more on there.
You got one more? Let's hear it.
Yeah, the Vikings released Colquitt, but then they were going to re-sign him, and there was like a report that says Vikings are re-signing Colquitt as just one of those procedural moves.
Mm-hmm.
But
like
then
what they did with Everson.
Yeah, the Steelers released Jordan Berry, which is a punter as well, and basically Jordan Berry has been a top 20 punter, which is not, it's 32 teams in the league. Yeah, 32 teams in the league, and 20 out of 32 is not that great. However, I think we just needed to move on for Colquitt.
We talked last week about special teams. I'm kind of a special teams nerd. That was my favorite position to play when I was in the league.
Sure.
In the league, when I was in football.
Damn.
Jeez, I'm so good. No, when I was playing football, my favorite thing to do with special teams, that's what I liked best, was returning, kicking, and punting. And the Colquitts, both Dustin and Britton, what I have loved about them is the fact that their form is like impeccable, which helps like as an evaluator, as a coach, because when they start doing poorly, like Britton Colquitt he was punter 24. You said
punter 24 last year.
When they start to fall off, when Dustin and Britton fall off, it's just losing their leg, because their form has never left. Like their form is so perfect that when their leg goes, like I honestly think there's a good chance Britton is done in the NFL now, just because like what can he work on? Like he can work out, keep working his legs out, he can do whatever, but his form is still there. He's just not getting the elevation that he needs, which to me tells me he's just like he's on that downslope of his career.
Sure.
So I think the Jordan Berry move is smart to move on.
Yeah, and he was actually 19th last year. He's been top 20 every year, but he was 19th last year compared to Britton's 24.
Okay. Well, I think it's smart. I think it's smart to upgrade specialist anytime you can.
I think they saw that the Steelers released him, and they just jumped on that opportunity. They're like, this guy will work for us and be better. So
yeah. So I think smart move. Thank you, Britton, because like both of the Colquitts, I don't think you could be mad about having.
No, they're stand-up vets. Much like Sean Mannion, who's also his back. He's on the practice squad. But Colquitt had some good ones too. There's like 68 yarders, but it's like 48 was what you're getting. 48 max.
Right. Which I mean, that's about
good.
What Jeff Locke was doing during his best year with us. And we were looking to upgrade him every year. So that
Jeff Locke was at like 46 yards, but he was
exactly. So he's right. Britton Colquitt was about the equivalent of a Jeff Locke.
Yeah.
So you got to move on from somebody like that. Personally, I'd rather we draft a guy. I would love to see an Aussie football guy. But we'll see.
I think kickers are the big question mark here, but I'd love to see a punter. So
kickers are the most mental thing. It's just like basketball with free throws. It's all about repetitive motion. And when you have a coach that doesn't know how to talk to a guy mentally, and which I think that's where Zimmer's fault is he doesn't know how to get through to people that are softer. Like
right.
I can definitely admit it. I didn't like to be yelled at. Anytime I had a coach that got mad and yelled all the time, that was the coach I tended to fade away from. If you tried to tell me how to make my kicks better, I needed you to sit down and talk to me about my form and maybe send me to meditation or something. But yelling at my face and saying, how the F do you miss a kick? That's like, oh, Simmons, how do you miss a free throw?
Or how many times do you shoot threes in a game? Or how many times do you get to shoot threes?
Right. That doesn't help. Like that. I get that that's what, like, that competitiveness, that anger is what sports has kind of been built on, and that's what increases competitiveness. But I mentioned this on Twitter the other day. I'd like, when we mentioned this to our listeners, that's what we were talking about, our listeners. Like, if you're going to comment or tweet at us, tell me why you prefer somebody else. Don't tell me why you hate somebody. Like,
if someone it's like the things we see where people are just like, Kirk sucks. It's like, okay, why do you think he sucks?
And tell me why you'd rather have Taylor Heineke. Like, tell me what makes
tell me why you would rather have Cam, since that's the hot thing right now. Tell me why you would rather have Cam than Kirk Cousins.
Or tell me why you'd rather have Cam than Mac Jones. Like, tell me what you'd like. Don't tell me why you don't want Cam. Tell me why you want Mac Jones. Don't tell me why you don't want Kirk. Tell me why you want Sean Mannion or Kellen Mond. Like, tell me why you want somebody. Tell me why you want to start this second string linebacker at like the second string outside linebacker at middle linebacker instead of your current middle. Like, just be positive about it. It leads to better discussion, as opposed to eventually, like, you notice that in these angry discussions in sports, the responses get short. Like, the first guy has like a paragraph. And the second guy responds with a paragraph. And then the first guy responds like this. And the second guy responds like this. And then eventually it's either just GIFs or it's like one word, like.
Right. And it's like, so obviously no quarterback's perfect except Patrick Mahomes. But
and even he's not perfect. His worst performances have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. But I mean, so everyone, so you're not going to go around saying Patrick Mahomes sucks.
No.
You need to be like, Patrick Mahomes needs to improve in this area.
Patrick Mahomes needs to have an O-line that doesn't look like Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Like, so do the Vikings.
Well, exactly. Like, Kirk Cousins needs time to throw the ball.
I think he had the shortest time before he had to throw last year at one point.
For a career, if on the Vikings, Kirk Cousins has been here, what, for 5 years, 4 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
I think it's 4 years. In the last 4 years, no quarterback has had less time to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And including one season where he had 1.7 seconds on average to throw the ball. Yeah. And I think that was his second year or first year on the Vikings. He had 1.7 seconds on average to throw.
Ridiculous.
Tom Brady can't get the ball up. Tom Brady likes to have at least 2 seconds. He has like the quickest release in NFL history.
Tom Brady can just bounce back there. He's just no fear in the world. He's just sitting back there.
And so, like, and even Tom Brady has places where he can improve. Yeah. In my opinion, like, every quarterback could improve.
Yeah.
Every player can improve. But don't tell me about why they suck.
Yeah, or just say they suck with no basis or information.
Because that's what are we supposed to do? Like, you respond to us, you comment to us, like, this person sucks. How are we supposed to respond to you? No, they don't.
Yeah,
that was the conversation.
Yeah, it's like playing the great transition here. It's like playing League of Legends, for instance.
Which we stream that every night from 7 p.m. to midnight Central Time. So
it's like saying you can tell someone they suck at League of Legends, which basically everyone else does.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, hey, it's hard to tell someone how they can improve there because you don't know them.
And they get defensive
and they're going to get a stranger. Yeah. So I mean, teach your own, but we look at the games when we play and we're like, all right, how can we improve in this situation?
It keeps your own mentality better, and it helps everyone else in the conversation stay positive too.
Yeah.
So that's our little thing. That's our little soapbox there. If in the comment section on Twitter, stay positive. We're trying to create a positive community here. We're fine with debates and discussions. What we don't want is arguments.
Right. So for the sake of this, you're talking about discussions, how we'd rather have a discussion, not an argument.
Yeah. Would much rather have a discussion.
For the sake of, if you ever have a topic that we need to discuss, for the sake of the discussion, we would take the for or against. So even if we say we both have the view of we're both for this, for the sake of the discussion, if people want to see that, we would take one would take for, one would take against. Mm-hmm. And then to transition to the LCS or playing League of Legends, TSM may not be good at a lot of things now. But they do have the best player in the split this year, and that is the jungler for TSM. That's Spica.
Yeah.
And we know we talked about TSM a little bit last week, and basically we said we could trash the whole team and just keep Spica and start fresh. So
and he won MVP, so go ahead and build around him.
Yeah.
Another former TSM player, BioFrost, is coming back out of retirement to either be a coach, player, or both.
I saw that. He basically really only played well with Doublelift.
Mm-hmm. And he's amazing in solo queue.
Yeah. So
back to that discussion thing. For those of you that might be a little worried, little background information on, like, say, myself here. I used to be in a youth in like government program where I learned how to potentially become a future lawyer and work for politics. I used to be very large into politics, and I was in a pre-law program. And before starting law school, I decided to drop out because I realized you had to be a defendant for your first 6 cases in the state that I was looking into working at. So I do have a lot of, and I was on like a public debate team. So like I do have a lot of experience. So
in other words, he's saying he would absolutely kill me in these discussions. But
no, I'm saying if we need somebody to take a side, it's not just going to be like we're just taking a side to take a side. Like we'll genuinely do just because I might disagree with a side, I'll genuinely do the research to make it seem like I do absolutely believe, like that's my opinion.
Sure. And you can help me with that to help
exactly. It's very fun, and like I was raised with somebody who claims to be enjoy being a devil's advocate, so I mean, it won't be just boring. One person takes one side, one person doesn't. It'll be actual, like, interesting. If you believe in a side, your side will be represented in a discussion.
Sure.
But like we said, it's discussion, not arguments.
Yeah.
So we talked about the LCS. We wanted to talk about Spica. We mentioned that. So I think that might be it for sports for us overall.
Oh, do you want to do the sponsor quick between segments?
Our sponsor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to let them know who it was this time?
I was going to let you do it.
So
you're running the meeting. I mean, so.
All right. Well, we have our first channel sponsor here, which is no one. So we have a free sponsor. This episode of this section of the podcast is sponsored by Glaziar Gaming. Sponsored by our gaming channel that is on YouTube and Twitch. 7 p.m. to midnight U.S. Central Time is the streaming hours, and the gaming channel posts either once a week, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. So
it was good to win again.
It felt good to win. So feel free. Thank you to Glaziar Gaming for sponsoring this podcast. You gave us $0. I appreciate it. You're welcome to this podcast. Being the representative of Glaziar Gaming.
We are here for them. They are here for us. That is. Yeah, it's recording. Use that as a boop.
Okay.
No, bring her back.
Hey, have a good rest of the show.
Okay.
Bring her back.
I don't have any tacos, but I got this drink.
Whenever I go to Taco Bell, last time I went, and the last couple times I've ever been there, I get 2 quesadillas.
Nice.
That's all I get.
1 for every inch. That's impressive.
1 for every half inch.